Hi, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Say Again with me, Amrita Tripathi. I do hope you've been enjoying our podcast this entire debut season. For this week's episode, we've actually collected some excerpts from some of our most popular episodes. So I do hope you'll enjoy listening to conversations with Shireen Bhan, Maria Goretti, Rajiv Masand, and the wonderful Vikas Swaroop to round us out. Have a listen, and I'll see you on the other side. I do want to ask you, Vikas, now you have 4 novels out, and I'm sure you're going to be writing more. Have you ever felt that after that huge success of Q&A and then Slumdog Millionaire and, walking the red carpet at Oscars and so on and so forth, did you feel a lot of pressure after that to live up to that level of success? Or were you able to be like, look, that might be a once in a lifetime kind of thing?
I'm going to try and dig up. In fact, maybe you could show it to your viewers in the post-production. Dig up the picture of Slumdog Millionaire being awarded the Best Picture, which is always the last Oscar. As you know, Steven Spielberg came onto the stage and he opened the envelope and he declared Slumdog Millionaire is the winner of the best film of 2008. And look at the number of people on the stage receiving that award. If you count, there are about 25 people, including me. And all of them are looking straight at the camera. There's only one guy in a black bangala who's looking up at the ceiling, and that's me. And actually, I'm wondering, what is a professional diplomat doing at the Kodak Theatre standing at the Oscar stage? So that was really the feeling going through my mind, that what is happening here? How the hell could I have landed up at the world's greatest entertainment stage? And it was really a surreal experience from that point of view. But look, that success did not go to my head or anything like that. As I told you earlier, that I was very focused that, look, this is just something which I pursue as a passion. It has achieved an amazing, phenomenal result. But that does not mean that my second book would also be as good as my first book. In fact, this is called the second book syndrome. When your first book becomes an Oscar-winning film, then obviously the pressure on the second book is that much more. And there are many authors who are called one-book wonders because, their first book did so well that the pressure of that became so immense that they just could not create the second book because they always felt that they would not be up to the task of matching the success of the first book. But for me, because as I said, I had the security of the day job, I was not worried about success and failure. And I set out to write 6 Suspects, which I knew was not going to be as successful as Q&A, even when I wrote the first page, because this was a much more complex book. But I wanted to test my own boundaries as a writer. Can I write a polyphonic narrative with 6 different characters who are all speaking to you in their own voices and explore 6 different strata of society? So that's why I wrote 6 Suspects, and I'm glad that it has also resonated with readers. It transitioned not, of course, into an Oscar-winning film, but into a web series called The Great Indian Murder, which is available on Disney and Hulu.
I don't know why this struck me when I saw some of your Instagram captions. Like, I've seen such beautiful quotes that I would never have guessed for if I didn't know you, or even with knowing you, actually. Yeah. I think I saw Rumi. Who else did I see recently? I saw Camus. Tell us a little bit about this other side. There's poetry, there's quotes, there's prose. There's always something more profound than you'd expect on an Instagram caption. Tell us that side of Shireen.
I'm not trying to be profound. To start with, I'm not a social media person at all. In fact, I've been very hesitant to engage on social media. It's been like a lot of my producers browbeating me to say, look, you have to, in this age, you have to be on social media. You have to have some social media presence. So I finally gave in a couple of years ago. I don't do a lot, but I think, again, I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not, so I think that's what you see of me on Instagram or Twitter. Twitter is completely work and news, and and I'm a little bit more sort of, I would say, cooler on Instagram because it's really an extension of the other side of me. But it's and I put out what I enjoy. I put out what I would, what makes me think. I put out what moves me. If there's a piece of poetry that moves me, I think, okay, let me share it. I don't know, it might move somebody else or not. But, that's at that moment, it made me feel something. And I'm like, okay, I would like to share this. So that's really what that's about there. It's not strategic. I don't have a plan. I'm not thinking it through or anything. It really is in the moment where I see something or I read something and I feel a certain way. And sometimes the universe of algorithms has a way of sort of making it all come together. But, you suddenly see this piece of poetry that resonates with exactly how I'm feeling at that point in time. And I'm like, okay, this is great. But as we get older, and in my case, I think like turning 40 was a was like a switch in many ways. I think before that, I was still far too encumbered by public scrutiny. What are people going to think? What are people going to say? And so I was holding myself back in many ways, because I was like, okay, I don't want to put out anything personal. Let my work speak for itself, and so on and so forth. As I have, over the last few years specifically, I think I'm less and less concerned about what somebody else has to say, or about me, or not say about me, or how they view me, or how they judge me. And I think I think the big realization there is that, look, we're too small in the scheme of things. We overthink. We give ourselves too much importance. I mean, nobody is going to spend 5 minutes of their day thinking about what I may have said or done, or what I look like. And even if they do, it's going to be, it'll last for 30 seconds and then they'll move on. So how does it matter? I think this fear, and especially for women, this fear that we have because of the way that, the environment has been, of being scrutinized, of being judged, of being evaluated for everything that we say or do or wear, or how we speak and how we look. I think that has, in many ways, it creates this sort of self-limiting impact. And I think it really has been about just letting some of that go, just learning to let go, just learning to breathe, learning to be, myself, owning, myself, and reclaiming some of my self.
What does that mean, when you have a mid-career transition? Because I remember for me, it was a tough year. Like, I didn't even acknowledge that, your goalposts have changed. The way you judge yourself changes. It's not a byline or how you're looking or doing a show or doing an interview. All of a sudden, the corporate world is very, very different. And what's confusing is you get mixed messages, right? Because no one's really sitting there and saying, like, let me explain to you how I'm going to mentor you through this. How difficult has it been for you? What are some things that changed? How do you judge yourself?
Yes, I got really lucky that that's something with time that I've realized. If you get to work with people that are good people that have got your back, that is really the most and the best that you can hope for. You learn the job. There couldn't be a job more far removed than I do now from what I used to do. It really, it falls apart. But I had a great bunch of people that mentored me, and really more than mentored me, first empowered me to learn on the job, to fail on the job, to reinvent on the job. And I feel like I haven't done too badly with someone that's only been doing this 3.5 years. But yes, it's completely different. It's you have to be that person. And that's the question that you ask yourself, right? I was 44 when I did that. And like, if I do it at 44, can I reinvent? Can I play the young man's game? Am I willing to put in the work 20-something-year-old will put, which I learned actually. We put it way more, the 40-year-old put way more work. That's not the problem. It's about really adapt to technology and adapt to to changing ways of working and all of those things.
Yeah.
But I'm also someone who doesn't like to fail. Someone who has a lot of pride.
Yeah.
I feel like if I have to put myself out more, I'm going to do what it takes before I throw in the towel. And I really do. So there's good days and bad days in this job. It's a tough time for the business. It's it's no secret that the film business, the entertainment business, has been hit quite badly in terms of the budgets and how films are performing theatrically. So that obviously has a ripple effect on the kind of work that is available for actors, what is the kind of remuneration they can charge, and that directly affects what you do for them.
Yeah.
And in those times, you have to sort of, and I do really think times like that my experience with my, the gray hair comes in, and I tell actors all the time, I said, in an area, at a time when nothing's a sure thing anymore.
Yeah.
The only thing perhaps you can fall back on is good material. Chase good material, because there's more chance of rewarding you and doing something for the wrong reasons. Oh, because this is a great actor that I'm going to be opposite, or this big director. The script doesn't really work for this big director. I actually choose the material, chase the material, and more than likely, and often that doesn't always guarantee success. but I think it's more likely, and it's a good sort of, it's a good compass to sort of go by. I think.
I mean, there's two questions now. One is, if you had a message for your younger self, I'm very curious what that would be. But before that, can you think of one thing that's kind of nice about getting older? Because I feel like we also freak out a lot because, also as soon as we put this on social media, we're going to be bombarded by all these videos just by virtue of how the algo works, So there does seem to be like, so you, for example, turning 30 is a milestone. You kind of worry about it. Turning 40 is a milestone. Turning 50. Is there anything you feel that kind of improves as you get older? Like you said, you feel free now, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. So the thing is, I have always been, I have anyway always been somebody did exactly what she wanted. My mom used to always say to me, she would say, or whatever you do in life, just do not do anything that will probably come back to bite you in your ass, So everything that I did, I felt, okay, it's fine. I would not do anything that would be so crazy that I would have to shut it at some point of time or not want to look at it at some point of time or be embarrassed about it where my kids are concerned or where my family is concerned or anything like that. So that was one bit. The second bit was that, I was not somebody who was really bothered about what the world said about me. I was fine in my head about who I am, what I'm doing, and I was happy with myself. So I have never been somebody who was feeling judged by everybody else.
That's huge.
I didn't feel like that. I just did what I wanted to. And I would see that I'm not harming anyone. Like that was for me, that was for me an important thing. I did not want to unknowingly, I don't know, but knowingly, I did not want to harm anyone, So that is something that has always stayed. If something does not appeal to me and like on a set, if I reach a set and they are not doing what they told me that they're going to do, then I will stick my feet in and I'll say, sorry, boss, this was not told to me. Ain't gonna do this. It's very simple. Mine is I'm very straight with all this. I'm like, okay, this is what you're going to get from me. This is what you have to give me and over and out. I'm very clear with all my work transactions. I think when it comes to people, when it comes to friends, when it comes to family, I think I'm a little more giving. And I think sometimes that takes a toll on me because I always feel also that when you want to do something for somebody, go ahead and do it. Yeah. I also don't feel that if you do something, you have to get something in return. You do it because you want to do this. So if I don't want to do something, to me, no comes very easily. Yeah. So if I don't want to do something, I will say no. I'll say no, I don't want to do this, or I can't do this, or no, sorry, not at this time. Because I feel that when you give, you need to just give.
Yeah.
You don't need to think, oh, now that I'm going to give this will do this and that, and some calculation. There is no calculation. It's like you just give and you leave it. I think that's easier. Sometimes what I realized that I was also a bit too giving. So that is something that I kind of have stepped back on and like, okay, boss, I can only do this much. After this, I want a holiday. Now I want to go quietly alone, not talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And be. So, yeah.
That is really cool. And I know you do, I've been seeing some of your videos on Insta, like sort of aerial yoga, and you do recharge. Like you do take the time to recharge.
Yes.
Which seems very important as well.
No, it is. Amrita, you're in this for so long, and there's so much of information that you need to retain about your work, about the people that you work with, about everything that you do. And I think when you do that, you unknowingly put so much of a pressure on yourself that at times you are running and you don't know why.
Yeah.
So I really feel that you need to look after yourself in whichever way possible. Like I see to it, like I realize that for me, food is a very big thing. So I like eating good food, but I like eating healthy food because it makes my insides feel good. Having said that, I'm also somebody who will suddenly wake up at 9 o'clock in the night and say, oh my God, I feel like having, biryani from that Bengali place. So I will call for it. Plus, I will call for Mishti from Sweet Bengal, and I will just sit and eat it because I enjoy it. You know, so. But having said that, I would say 70% of the time I look after my health. You know, because it makes me feel good. I enjoy aerial yoga. I really love it. I do weights because it is good for me, not because I enjoy it. I do it because in the long run, that's what's going to really keep me fine. I want to be able to be going on holidays alone for as long as possible. I want to be able to rely on myself for as long as possible. And for me to do these things, I have to look after myself. You know, because no matter what, if you don't look after yourself, nothing can be done. Anyone, like, you can advise people on the most wonderful ways to look after themselves, but if they don't, you can't help them. So I feel like if I help me, I will be in a much better place to help whoever else I need to help at that point of time.
Yeah, that's really wise. And you're right. I mean, if you don't take care of yourself, and this goes for your mental health, physical health, actually everything. No one else can really do it for you, right? I mean, we're the best custodians and guardians of that. What's a message you have for a younger self or younger selves?
I think I would just say, yeah, just continue. Do whatever you're doing. I have no advice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because-
And yeah, that's great.
Yeah, because when I look at me today, I'm in a good place. I'm fine, you know. So I feel that all the wrong places that I probably went to, and all the right places that I reached, all the wonderful work that I did, all the good experiences, all the bad experiences, they taught me so much. They just have my head is different today. And I know most of the time, I know when I want to do something, when I don't. You know, I know when to say yes, when to say no. Sometimes I'm completely confused, then I toss a coin. But
Heads or tails, eh? Like you're kind of
yeah.
leave it to.
But I would just if I had to meet the young me today, I would just say, yeah, continue. Do exactly what you want and have fun. Just have fun.
Love that, because it's
Because
also
we have one life to live. If you don't have
Yeah.
fun, and you're always going to be, looking over your shoulder and wondering, it's not worth it.
I hope you enjoyed listening to those excerpts. You can, of course, find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Do give me a subscribe on YouTube as well. That always helps. I'd love to interact with more of you as we go forward. We'll be taking a short break on Say Again, but wishing you and yours a wonderful 2025, and see you again very soon.